At my wedding, I never expected my elite MIL to slap me for being dirty. What happened next changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with anticipation, my heart racing like wild drums. I stood there, in my white lace gown, a symbol of love. But in that moment, everything felt suffocating. The church was filled with whispers, faces lined with smiles, but all I could see was Hermie, mother-in-law. Her glare pierced through the white veil like sharp glass. I felt my palms sweat, trembling as I gripped my bouquet. It smelled of roses, but all I could taste was impending doom. Suddenly, a silence fell, heavy and oppressive. My fiancé, Tom, stood beside me, his brushed hair and charming smile were meant to be reassuring. But a shadow lurked in his eyes, a flicker of doubt. I hated that we had to navigate this world where judgments were cast like stones, and then it happened. In a heartbeat, she lunged forward, her hand connecting with my cheek, a sharp sting ripping through the euphoric atmosphere. Gasps filled the room, flowers swayed as if shaking in disbelief. "How dare you dishonor my family," she screamed, the horror reflected in everyone's eyes. I stumbled back, confusion blending with pain. "What? I don't understand," I managed to choke out, my voice trembling. "I was dirty? What did that even mean?" The crowd murmured, and I felt the heat of 1,000 gazes, scrutinizing, judging that I remembered how I always tried to please her. Countless dinners, endless smiles. Every holiday spent praying she wouldn't see the real me. But now? In that fleeting moment, everything shattered. I could see Tom's eyes darting in panic. His fingers clenched at his sides, a fierce battle raging within him. Should he stand by me? Should he defend me? The silence screamed louder than any shout, echoing against the vaulted ceilings. The truth dripped like poison. Embedded in her words was an accusation, an attack on my very essence. I thought I was marrying into love, yet there I stood exposed and ashamed. Tears pooled in my eyes, blurring the smiles that had turned into a sea of shock. What had I done to deserve this? I was ready to vow my life to Tom, to love him unconditionally. But now, in the wake of her fury, I could only feel the walls closing in. The light flickered above, casting an eerie glow as darkness crept around us, and just like that, the moment hung suspended in the air. It cracked wide open, waiting for the truth to emerge. Would I fight back? Or would I let her words bury me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the murmurs faded into a heavy silence, I felt Tom's hand tug on mine, urging me to move, to escape the weight of our guest's gaze. But my feet wouldn't budge. I felt rooted in this moment of chaos. I wanted to scream, to flee this altar where love was supposed to bloom, but fear was a much fiercer prison. The first tears fell as I turned to Tom, searching for solace, for understanding. Instead, he hesitated, eyes darting toward his mother, caught between loyalty and love. I need to go talk to her," he finally said, pulling away from me as if I had just burned him. "Tom, no," I cried, watching as he rushed toward the woman who had just humiliated me. Desperation clawed at my throat. My heart pounded, not with feelings of rectitude, but rather the crushing weight of betrayal. Her accusations hung over me like the specter of a haunting past, one I thought I had left behind. Dirty. I swallowed hard at the label that lingered in the air, a shroud over everything that I was. I wished I could disappear, perhaps melt into the backdrop of the flowers that were now wilted, much like my spirit. No longer the bride destined for love, I was just a woman caught in a web of someone else's disdain. The light seemed dimmer, the music fading into a distant and haunting melody that mocked my shattered expectations, and yet, amidst the turmoil, an unexpected warmth emerged. The church's florist, a young woman with kind eyes, me ally in this painful display, moved closer. She leaned in, her voice barely a whisper. "You're stronger than you think. This moment will not define you. Show them who you are." I could see the compassion in her eyes, a tiny flicker of hope that inspired me to draw a breath. Tom's voice rose at the front. I couldn't hear the words, but the tone was unmistakable, defensive, agitated. It made my heart sink because it signaled an allegiance I feared might cost me dearly. It stung deeper than my cheek, which was still smarting from where his mother's hand had met my face. In a surge of defiance, I wiped my tears and took a step forward. I had the right to be there, to fight for the love I thought we shared. As I moved closer, I heard snippets of their exchange. "She didn't do anything wrong, Mom." Tom's voice rang out, laced with urgency. "You can't keep burying us beneath your expectations, she spat back, her voice cold as ice. "It's a matter of respect. You do not marry someone whose past is riddled with shame." My heart shattered with those words, the truth wounded deeper than any slap. What past? I had worked hard to distance myself from the shadows of an upbringing I didn't ask for. Who was she to judge the chapters of my life? The florist touched my arm gently. "You have the right to defend yourself," she murmured just as the congregation began to shift restlessly. Sensing the rise of tension that in that moment, I felt a flicker of courage. I didn't want to be just a victim standing on the sidelines. Gathering my resolve like a shield, I steadied my breath. I could no longer hide. I stepped outside the veil of hurt and ignorance, ready to take the words back that had almost suffocated me. "Tom," I interrupted, my voice shaky but clear. "I'm not ashamed of who I am. Not anymore." The wave of surprise that washed over the audience comforted me, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this mess. He turned, startled to see me advancing, a storm brewing behind my eyes. "What are you doing?" His expression was torn, the love I had known shifting into confusion. "I deserve a chance to stand by your side today. To declaim and uphold our vows." I took a deep breath, squaring my shoulders. "I refuse to be defined by your mother's views." His eyes softened, but there was uncertainty etched across his features. Without breaking the gaze, I addressed his mother directly. "You want to know about my past? I worked through every drop of shame and rebuilt my life. I refuse to let anyone define me as dirty." The stunned silence spoke volumes, and I could feel the weight of every listening ear. I had punched a hole in her armor, giving voice to all that had been unspoken. But then, unexpectedly, following my words, the church doors burst open. A figure clad in a simple, worn-out dress entered. Her hair wild, like uncurbed freedom, swung with passion as she rushed in. I could see recognition bloom in her eyes as they landed on me, their connection igniting a spark of memories long buried beneath mine. "Lily!" she shouted loudly, and my world cracked open once more at the sound of my name. There she stood, the embodiment of my past, the sister I thought I had lost. With radiant conviction, she stepped forward, defiant and unyielding. "You can't do this to her. She's fought too long to reassign her worth." The room collectively gasped, eyes wide, as I felt my heart race with a mix of joy and terror. What had been the perfect wedding now unraveled into chaos, but the sight of her, the sister I knew would come back one day, brought hope in droves and also fear of the shadows that followed. How had she found me? What else was she bringing with her? This wave of emotion and the truths that followed were only just beginning to emerge, but as I stared wide-eyed at her, I felt the outcome of everything changing in ways I never thought possible. I stood frozen, my breath trapped in my throat, as Lily's presence flooded the room with memories I thought had been sealed away forever. Her defiance cut through the tension, a ripple now reaching toward me, pulling my heart in both directions, toward fear of the past and the solace of sisterhood that I had so desperately longed for. "Lily!" I managed to whisper, disbelief cascading through me like water over rocks. My sister's familiar face, streaked with the grit of our shared childhood, stood out among the polished elegance of the church. It was the kind of reunion that could both heal and harm, a double-edged sword poised in the air. Tom's mother was the first to recover from the shock. "What is she doing here?" Her voice was sharp, cloaked in disdain as it sliced through the silences that had fallen between us. "She has no place in this." My heart raced as I saw the vulnerability and strength in Lily's stance. It was a look I had worn myself too many times, filled with courage wrested from countless struggles. "No place? She has every right to stand here," Lily shot back, her voice strong and unwavering. "You can't erase her past, nor your son's love for her." I could see the shift in the room, a pendulum swinging toward defiance where once had been silence. A few faces among the congregation nodded, murmuring words of support. But Tom stood still, caught in a whirlwind of emotion. Confusion flickered in his eyes. Betrayal? Anger? Love? I couldn't tell. "Lily, what are you doing?" I implored, stepping closer. A rush of pride mingled with a swirl of anxiety. I had tried so hard to shield her from my past, to build a life where shame was but a ghost. But here she was, a fierce guardian of every scar I carried. "We're family," she proclaimed, her voice now echoing through the chamber, drowning out the murmurs. "You can't just let them chain you with expectations that don't belong to you." There was something in her words that touched a deeper part of me. It was an acknowledgement of our shared struggles, a reminder that we had survived the unforgiving hands of fate, woven together in a tapestry of resilience. But with that realization came the cold fear of the truth she might inadvertently unearth, for the past was never as neatly buried as I had hoped. Tom took a hesitant step forward, his brow furrowing as he processed the unfolding drama. "Lily, I didn't know." His tone shifted in almost pained curiosity. Did he want to understand or push me away? Caught between Lily's fierce love and Tom's confusion, I felt a pulse of hope flicker. I needed to embrace this moment, but the uncertainty coiled around my heart like a vice. I didn't want to drag you into my past, into my mess," I admitted, my voice shaking as I spoke to both of them. "But you're right. I won't let anyone dictate who I am anymore." The church, once his mother's kingdom of judgment, was transforming into a stage, and I felt the presence of the florist by my side once again, her presence tightening the circle of support I desperately needed. "You have to speak your truth, Lily," she murmured, and so I did. I took a step toward Tom, Lily beside me, like a shield against the arrows that had once pierced me. "I'm not ashamed of where I came from, of what I've lived through," I shouted, my voice gathering strength. "Every mistake and misstep has carried me to this moment where I can finally choose who I want to be." As if igniting the very walls of the church, my declaration echoed throughout. The gasps grew louder, turning into murmurs of understanding and empowerment. I could see faces shift from skepticism to empathy. But just then, amidst the swell of support, I noticed a movement at the back of the church that halted my breath. A familiar figure emerged from the shadows, one I had hoped was gone for good. My heart dropped as I recognized Mark, an echo from a past I had not yet fully escaped. The smile that spread across his face was both genuine and chilling, leaving me with a sense of foreboding. "Lily, there you are," he called out, feigning excitement, but the shadows in his eyes promised a darkness that could unravel everything. I felt the air grow heavy and thick, tinged with an old anxiety that flared back to life, now both acute and real. "Why are you here?" I managed to choke out, dread entwining with every word. Tom's expression morphed from confusion to defensiveness, stepping in front of me. "Who are you?" "I'm someone who knows the truth," Mark replied, his tone dripping with a condescension that still felt strangely familiar. "And I've come to remind everyone just where this little story begins." As the tension thickened in the air, I understood that the moment of revelation I had feared was upon us, but this time, I would not let it dictate the story of my life. I looked over at Lily, who nodded, her resolve lending me strength. Whatever storm Mark was bringing with him, we would face it together, and as I prepared to stand my ground, ready for whatever was to come, dread coiled tightly around my heart. Was this the beginning of a battle I could never win, or the chance to reclaim my narrative that I had lost for too long? Lily's fierce stance beside me filled me with a warmth I hadn't realized I craved. In the face of approaching shadows, however, dread gnawed at the edges of my bravado. Mark's presence felt like an unwelcome specter from a life I had fought so diligently to escape. I could feel the congregation shift in their seats, eyes darting from me to him, caught in the tension that bounced like static through the air. "Mark, no," I said, my voice steady, an anchor amidst a rising tide. "You don't get to come back and twist our story. Not today." His laughter rang out, a hollow sound that echoed through the sacred space. "Oh, but sweetheart, isn't that exactly what I'm here to do? Tell everyone your secret. The one you tried so hard to bury?" The smirk on his face deepened, and I felt a violent ripple of memories clawing their way back to the surface, each one viciously tight around my throat. Lily's hand gripped my wrist, a grounding force against the storm, but fear threatened to unravel me again. Tom stood firm in front of me, but I could see the tumult of emotions wrestle in his gaze: disbelief, concern, and perhaps the spark of anger rising in protection of what felt rightfully his. "Get out," Tom growled, bringing a fierce tone to the air that made Mark's smirk falter for just a moment. Yet Mark shrugged, shaking his head as though fashioned to dissent. "And miss out on this lovely ceremony? A worthier audience doesn't exist for the truth," he said, scanning the crowd who had begun to lean in, curiosity piqued that I could sense the sympathy beginning to waft from the pews, thin yet powerful. They didn't know the full story the way Mark's words had once held my life hostage. In one moment, he had become an unwitting villain, and my memories flooded back, darkness pooling in my chest. Every wound he sliced open still felt fresh, a constant reminder that some chains, despite years of healing, couldn't be fully broken enough. I broke through the noise of doubt and whispers, steadied by the flood of my own defiance. "Mark, you know nothing about who I am now, right?" he teased, his tone shifting to patronization. "The person who lets a wedding distract from her past? The person who lets her little sister stand by her side while hiding her own history? Isn't that a little dirty?" Lily stepped forward, her presence rivaling Mark's bravado as she spoke up. "You have no idea how strong she is. What she's fought to build for herself. So you need to shut your mouth before you show everyone just how low you really are." I couldn't help but smile at her strength, the kindling of warmth swelling in the pit of my stomach. If this moment held anything, it was the realization that with Lily next to me, I had the power to speak my truth. But my heart raced as I wondered if Tom would feel the same once the entirety of my past was unleashed, if each layer of my former self came crashing down before him without warning. With that in mind, I turned to Tom, who was still bristling, the tension in his body unwavering. "We need to do this together," I whispered, grounding myself in the power of choosing the words I had longed to say. "Together," he echoed softly, and I could see something glimmering in his eyes, a resolve that bolstered me like sunshine in a storm. Focusing back on Mark, I tried to keep my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "I am not the scared person you remember. I'm who I am right now, an imperfect but beautiful mosaic of experiences and choices I've made." I swiveled to where the congregation had been drawn closer, faces with warmth, a few nods of understanding, encouragement stoked in their expressions. My heart surged, fueling a fire within me. "I will not let your past define me, Mark. And I will not let you take this from Menet today." Mark's mask of amusement slipped for a moment, uncertainty flitting over his features. "You think this is all just going to magically go away?" "No," I replied firmly. "But I will face it. On my terms. I'm not afraid of you anymore." The broken shards of silence filled the room, echoing the weight of truth. There was something grounding about claiming ownership of my history, a path at my feet where there once had been shadows. Yet inside, an ember of fear still flickered, a gentle reminder that Mark held secrets, bitter truths that might just slice through the fragile space I was trying to reclaim. Just as I sensed my own strength settle into place, I heard a voice, soft but cutting through the tension. "You think you can just erase the past?" A woman emerged from the back of the church, her eyes locking onto mine with a ferocity that sent shivers down my spine. Gasps of disbelief rippled through the crowd. With every cautious step forward, she grew clearer to me, another wave of my history, marked with memory, rearing its head with a chilling familiarity. "You'll need more than anger to battle the truth," darling." The room fell silent, a wave of mystified gasps swirling around. As she crossed the threshold into the light, I recognized her, a name from my past I had not dared to utter aloud. The air grew heavy with the wind of tumultuous transformations, and I could feel the ground beneath me tremble as the curtain began to close on this act, each moment so charged with uncertainty. But with the chaos on the horizon, there was a flicker of hope anchored deep in my chest. I had Lily and Tom beside me, ready to weave this tangled story of strength into something beautiful, regardless of the darkness that threatened to drown it. As I steadied my breath for what would come next, I braced for the truth, knowing it could either set me free or shatter everything I had tried to build. The weight of the moment hung in the air, almost palpable, as the woman stepped forward. Recognition pricked at my heart, coaxing dread to unfurl like a dark flower blossoming in my chest. "Emily," I breathed, my voice trembling between disbelief and rage. Years slipped back, years of tight smiles, hidden truths, and bitter goodbyes mingled with my recollections of her. "Did you really think you could escape?" Emily's voice echoed through the vaulted ceiling, ricocheting back into the concealed recesses of our shared past. Every syllable was laced with resentment, an unrelenting reminder of my mistakes. "You left a mess behind when you ran, and some of us had to deal with it." Around me, I sensed Tom's protective energy shift. He glanced at me, his brow knitted with confusion and the beginnings of fury. Lily, too, flickered between support and uncertainty, torn between the love she held for me and the derailment of our plans unfolding around us. The congregation leaned forward, curiosity painted across their faces. What had I hidden that was now crashing down like debris around me? "What are you doing here?" I managed to ask, my voice harsh with urgency, desperate to contain the chaos growing before me. "I came to witness your little charade," Emily snarled, and toxicity seeped into her words. "We both know Mark isn't just going to stand by quietly. You think this wedding is going to erase the truth? I'm not here to ruin it, I'm here to make sure it doesn't become an illusion." An electric charge coursed through me as memories clashed with my present. "No one wants to hear your twisted version of the truth," I shot back, desperation igniting my walls like a blazing fire. "You have no power here." Emily, her laughter held a chilling edge that pierced through my resolve. "No power? Oh, sweetie, do you really think it's only Mark who knows? You're in deeper water than you realize. I know all about the things you tried to bury in your mind. You might fool them, but you won't fool the people who matter." Behind her, Mark's smirk returned, as if savoring every moment of my unraveling. "See? Now, let's not keep this from the audience. What's a wedding without a little revelation, after all?" His voice dripped with sweet poison. With every word, I felt my heart race and stutter, the panic rising like bile in my throat. Those simple, honest moments I shared with Tom and Lily were now at risk, twisted in the vortex of uncertainty Emily had stirred. My battle was no longer just against my own past but against a tide of manipulation intent on stripping me down to bare vulnerability before my family, friends, and the love of my life. Rallying all my strength, I closed my eyes briefly, allowing myself to breathe through the disarray. "Emily, you aren't going to win this battle for my future. I have rebuilt my life, piece by piece, and you can't drag me back." That I didn't dare meet Tom's eyes immediately, fearing what fury would swim in their depths. But I had to believe that the heart he had for me outweighed the weight of my sins. "Together, remember?" I whispered to myself, letting his promise pulse through me like a distant heartbeat, awareness blending with hope. "Together indeed," Emily taunted, clearly sensing my wavering fortitude. "But do you even know the real story? The pillars behind your mosaic? I could unravel you in just a few words." As the tension stretched tightly in the room, I felt the warmth of hands enclosing around mine. Tom had stepped forward, taking my hand. "You don't get to control her, Emily," he declared, his voice steady and fierce like the roar of thunder. "Whoever you think she was doesn't matter now. She is the woman I love, and shall define her narrative today." Tears threatened to spill across my cheeks, each tremor within me a testament to hope against despair. "Thank you," I mouthed to him, feeling illuminated by his unwavering support. "But I have to face this." The flicker of uncertainty remained ignited within Emily as disbelief surged through her expression. You think you can manage this storm on your own? You'll need more than good intentions to battle the truth, she hissed, the venom bubbling in her tone, but now I felt emboldened that I won't let you define me anymore. I breathed deeply, forcing a courageous smile to break through the tide of emotions. My heart may have been racing, but hope surged through like a current now. Before I could lash out further, Emily leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper although skewered with malice. Let's see how strong your love is when the truth of your past is laid bare, because trust me, Lily won't like it one bit. All the color drained from my face. What secret could she possibly hold? The ground trembled beneath me again, this time, not from the lingering shadows of years past but from a raw fear that something far worse awaited me in the truth. Emily unspooled like a serpent from its nest at in that climactic moment. Silence surged in waves, wrapping us in a cocoon of dread as the uncertain reality of Blake's family unraveled before us. I could feel the burning gaze of the congregation, everyone waiting for a fallout, for secrets in their own hearts to merge with mine in a disarray of revelation. And therein lay the crux of it. Ali had thought I held the truth tightly bound, but as Emily grinned with victory singing through her eyes, I felt the world teeter on the precipice of unmasking. Moments folded into one another like the broken shards of my heart, and as my breath staggered beneath the weight of impending revelations, I braced for the storm to come. What damning truth lay hidden? What darkness could Emily possibly unleash that would threaten all I had fought to hold dear? The air around us crackled with tension, the collective breath of the congregation hanging heavy like fog. Time slowed, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last, drawing us closer to the storm I had tried to outrun but now stood on the precipice of confronting. Emily's smile widened with a predatory satisfaction, maximizing the cruelty of her power over me. Let me remind you of a little incident the night before your big day, she said, her eyes glittering with malice. Remember how you thought you could bury the truth beneath wedding bells and white lace? Oh, sweetheart, if only it were that easy. The words sliced through my resolve like a knife, and I felt the strength dissolve in my limbs. The shadows of my past swelled, creeping in from the edges of my mind, each one a dark remnant of choices I wished I could rewrite. Could it have been the night when everything spiraled out of control? Friends brought together under the influence of too much joy and too much wine. Tom tightened his grip on my hand, grounding me against the rising tide of dread. I turned to him, hoping to find strength in those deep, unwavering eyes, but I could see the shadows of worry reflected back at me. A storm brewed on his brow, and in his heart, even though he fought to shield me, I sensed his fears coiling tighter around us. Stop it! Lily shouted, breaking the stifling silence, stepping forward with her fiery spirit churning. This isn't the time or place, Emily. You can't come here and destroy everything she's rebuilt out of love, out of strength. Love? Emily scoffed, her scorn piercing like frostbite. What kind of love can survive the truth? It's not just about your romance, but the reality that lurks in the dark. If she's so honest, let her suffer the consequences of her actions. With that, my heart plummeted. The facade I had carefully constructed was hyperfragile. Just how much could be stripped away before there was nothing left of me? I could feel my breath quickening, hot tears threatening to spill over. A swell of fear mingled with indignation. Mark, ever the opportunist, leaned forward, feeding off Emily's chaos. Oh, is this where the real fun begins? His voice dripped with mockery, igniting a fire of anger within me. Let's peel back those roses and see how many thorns lie beneath. I took a shaky breath, desperately seeking solace in the remnants of love surrounding me. I did what I had to do, I managed, though my voice trembled as I spoke. I thought I was protecting everyone. Protecting? Emily's laugh echoed again through the room, a haunting sound that clawed at the edges of reason. You think leaving us behind was protecting? Sweetheart, that was running away. Lily stepped closer, undeterred, her resolve like a shield. Don't you dare twist her actions into your narrative. You don't know what it took for her to rise up from the ashes of her past. Quite the combat team, Emily sneered. But I didn't come here to make enemies. I came to unlock cages, starting with yours. Suddenly, a flash of guilt pierced through me. Had if I was too deeply entangled in my labyrinth of protection that it was causing collateral damage? I wrestled with this unsettling thought, rooted in confusion and empathy. Maybe Emily was a storm, but storms whispered truths too, and sometimes, they couldn't be ignored. Please, just spit it out. I shouted, my voice trembling with uncertainty as if unveiling the hidden terror inside. Enough of these games. What must I face? Emily's eyes glimmered with a sinister satisfaction. Oh, it's not just about you, it's about how many people will follow you on this rocky road. Waiting in the shadows are the pieces of your past eager to come to light. That single statement sent waves of disbelief washing over the crowd, a ripple effect born from dread. I glanced around. The expressions on the faces of those I cherished mirrored my own horror. Did Lily catch a glimpse of something I had hoped remained buried? And then it happened. Tom's hand slipped from mine, momentarily lost in the chaos. My heart lurched at the fear sewn into his expression as he focused intently on Emily. What do you mean? What more could possibly come from whatever it is you're hinting at? Emily hesitated, feasting on the moment of uncertainty, and my heart ached at Tom's fear that clung to the air. As she opened her mouth to utter the next revelation, the tension dissipated briefly, revealing an unexpected ally. A voice from the back of the congregation echoed through the silence, breaking the spell of horror that had gripped us. Stop it, Emily. A figure stepped forward, and I gasped. My estranged brother, Nathan, the very person I had kept away from this life, from this love. You can't keep holding her hostage with your lies. For a moment, I forgot the storm, the past. Confusion morphed into a confounding mixture of dread and hope. Nathan had come. The very person I thought lost for good had decided to enter into the fray. Just as quickly as the revelation deepened, an unfamiliar panic seized my heart. What truth had Nathan been harboring all these years? In the depths of Emily's tangled web, new questions unfurled, unruly and unyielding. Are you going to let her destroy you? Nathan pressed, his voice now leading the charge against the encroaching shadows. This is your wedding, for God's sake. My world felt as if it were fracturing anew. Buried pasts clawed their way back into the light while emotions roared like the waves of an unfathomable sea. What do you know, Nathan? I pleaded, anxiety flooding my voice. The clock seemed to freeze. Silence poured over us like heavy rain, anticipation crackling, and all I could feel was the weight of the unknown pressing down on my shoulders. Just as I prepared for whatever truth would erupt from Emily's lips, I caught Tom's gaze behind Nathan, his worry now transformed into a fierce determination. And as the ghosts of my past danced like shadows, I realized my real battle had only just begun. What would Nathan reveal? What hidden truth could unravel my tapestry of love and hope? The answers writhed just out of reach, waiting to unfold, my heartbeat quickening as the darkened storm loomed closer. The air thickened with uncertainty as Nathan stepped further into the light of the altar, his presence both anchor and tempest. I couldn't tear my gaze away from him, desperate for answers even as dread filled the crevices of my heart. Emily shifted, clearly perturbed, her carefully constructed facade threatened by the specter of my brother's return. Why now, Nathan? I barely managed to whisper, the weight of past grievances choking my voice. Why did you stay away when I needed you? He took a breath, and for an instant, I caught the flicker of pain that swirled in his eyes, a reflection of our shared history now laid bare. Because I thought that pushing you away might save you from the mess we left behind, he confessed, his words twisted by an undercurrent of remorse. But this isn't about me. It's about you finding your truth, not living under the shadow of someone else's. Lily stepped close to my side, her loyalty palpable. What did she do, Nathan? What does Emily want? Nothing can be hidden when the storm blows in, Emily interjected with a knowing smirk. You think you can shield her, but the truth will always have a way of shedding light on the darkness. Her voice rippled through us, taunting, but there was no sound like a wild storm beyond her words. Tell us! Shouted Tom, a fierce protector stepping forward, his eyes aflame with resolve. You can't just tease us with half-truths. Nathan's gaze darted between Emily and me, the tension mounting in his throat. They say shadows are just remnants of what once was, but love twists into jagged shapes in the darkness, he said, a tremor in his voice. You're not dirty, but the past isn't as pristine as you'd hope. Emily knows things I've wanted to shield you from. It felt as if time splintered, each echo of Nathan's words stoking the flames of my unease. The congregation hung on every breath, and I could sense the narrowed eyes and gasps, an audience trapped between scandal and bitter truth. Don't listen to him, Emily said, her venom stirring the congregation's pulse. He's talking around the truth, circling in a maze. Don't you see how he's still a part of this wreckage? Like a moth forever flitting toward a flame, but always charred by it, Emily. Nathan shouted, his voice cutting through the haze. You don't get to manipulate this. Not anymore. You may think you're a queen ruling over broken pieces, but the game changes when the past shows its hand. The revelation hung heavily in the air, weighed down by uncertainty, but despite the fear, a flicker of hope pulsed in my chest. Could Nathan really be here to help me? My thoughts darted to the hourglass, the limited time we had before the truth could morph into judgment. That I don't care about the judgment, I said, finding my voice. I want to know what you've been hiding, Nathan. What must I confront head-on? Emily's smile faded, but she yelled, shells shatter like glass, Nathan. You think you can save her? Let me remind everyone here, ghosts don't fade away, they only linger. Who's to say what she's buried so deep that you'll all drown when it surfaces? All I could hear was the roar in my ears, drowning out the world even as it closed in around me. The looks exchanged in the crowd, the pity and disdain mingling, they sliced deeper than molten glass. I stood on a precipice of truth, ready to fall into the dark below, not knowing what awaited me. The unknown was as terrifying as it was exhilarating. That I know why you ran, Nathan said, and I recoiled at the implication of his words. I found out after our parents' accident. I what? My heart ignited with confusion, catching a glimmer of how the pieces might connect. What are you talking about? But before Nathan could finish, a figure stepped in from the side of the gathering, a woman I recognized but never fully understood. It was Alice, a distant family friend whose whispers had often echoed uneasily during my childhood. She had always known too much and spoke too little, leaving nothing but unease among the remnants of our family tragedies. Don't you dare speak on what you don't understand. Alice's voice was sharp as glass, slicing through the gathering murmur. You weren't supposed to come here and disrupt? Nathan retorted, his voice steady but charged. I'm not the one who ran away with secrets they could have prevented. A storm that was never yours to control, Alice shot back, taking a step toward me. And your life has been manipulated long enough by fears built on what you weren't given, but thought you deserved. Emily, preying on the weaknesses was never a part of your truth. I trembled at the rawness of her words, the clarity that emerged despite the chaos. No one told me the truth. What happened back then? Why? My heart collided with anguish, yearning for clarity and an answer to the haunting shadow lurking just out of reach. Because, Alice murmured, advancing with purpose as if this moment was a long time coming, you were the only one who could survive the shadows cast by things that should have never existed. You deserve to love without shackles, free of guilt. Before she could delve deeper into the past, Emily's laughter echoed harshly, a grotesque contrast to the emerging hope. Do you really believe in that elation? In a world devoid of truth? Her scorn hung thick in the air, tainting the hope that had dared to blossom. I hesitated, glancing from faces filled with suggestion to those reflecting uncertainty. Please, my voice broke, filled with desperation. I didn't want to fail again, didn't want to let fear dictate my future. But the reverberation of Emily's laughter was a dark spell, a reminder that secrets bound tightly with fear often drew blood when revealed. Just when I thought the pieces of my life might fit together, I felt another wave of darkness approach. Let me tell you what you don't remember, Emily hissed, bright hatred illuminating her features. It's about time your world fell apart for good. As if pulled by some invisible string, I found my breath trapped within my chest, fighting for air and meaning. Were those around me mere shadows of what I defined as love? Another shattering truth was waiting to emerge, and this time, it would come crashing in like a wave, unforgiving, unrelenting, and in that moment, with dread coiling in my heart, I wondered if naivete was merely the false guise of innocence, clad in shadows ready to bleed for the truth. But there would be no resolution without confronting this perilous storm. Just as the fear engulfed me whole, the tumultuous storm crackled with anticipation as if the darkest secrets were poised to emerge, ready to draw the world under into chaos. As the echoes of Emily's words reverberated through the congregation, the room seemed to constrict, pulling tighter with every breath I took. I glanced around, searching for solace among familiar faces. But even Tom, usually my steadfast protector, looked uncertain, as if he too could not pierce the fog of revelations that loomed over us. "Stop it!" I shouted suddenly, my voice cracking against the rising tension. "Just stop." It was a desperate plea, a dam breaking under the weight of everything left unspoken. "You're all circling around me like vultures, feeding off the chaos of our shared past. Nathan, Emily, Alice, the shadows you cast over me have become unbearable. I need to breathe." "Then breathe," Nathan challenged softly, stepping closer, his gaze piercing and full of an empathy that made my heart ache. "Face it with each steady breath. We can't outrun the truths buried inside us." Suddenly, I remembered the hourglass I had sought to keep hidden, the physical reminder of all the time that had been stolen from me. It was both a gift and a curse, a beacon guiding me towards everything I had tried to flee. "What if I can't?" I whispered, trying to suppress the tears that threatened to spill unchecked. "What if the truth is too heavy? What if I'm not strong enough?" "You are stronger than you think," he replied, his words firm, yet tender. They captured the essence of the bond we once shared, one built on unwavering trust and unspoken depths. "And I will stand beside you as you unravel it." But Emily's cold laughter continued to echo in my ears, ricocheting against my fading sense of self. "Strength? Is that what you call it?" She sneered, challenging the thin veneer of bravery I had managed to scrape together. "You think facing the truth will make things right, but it doesn't guarantee happiness, dear." Alice stepped forward again. "Determine your worth not by the shadows that envelop you but by the love you seek, even in the darkness," she urged, her eyes steadying mine with an intensity that felt oddly comforting. For a brief moment, I felt suspended in that fragile thread of hope. But come dawn, would it snap like a brittle piece of twine? Before I could unravel that thought, Emily's presence surged once more. "Let's talk about the wedding." "Your wedding," she taunted, an edge to her voice that suggested a deeper malice. "What kind of purity do you think will sanctify you when they uncover what stains your past?" The crowd shifted uneasily. I felt their eyes on me, sizing up my worth while I stood at the precipice of my vulnerability. Would my anxieties swallow me whole, turned against me by those few I sought comfort in? Nathan reached out, but I recoiled in the staggering uncertainty, feeling the walls close in. A distant memory glimmered in my mind. It was cloudy, but the shapes had always lingered. Hushed conversations behind closed doors, voices wrapped in urgency that had faded into echoes of childhood fears. I could sense Nathan's presence beside me. He stood like a lighthouse against the crashing waves of my growing dread, silently urging me to confront the deep-seated truth. "Tell us, Nathan," I urged, no longer willing to be a spectator to this tempest, unsure of how much time I had left before everything unraveled. "What truth are you hiding? What did you find out?" His eyes darkened, wrenching my heart with the tumult of impending disclosures. I discovered that the tragedy was not only the accident, but what followed afterward, the lies woven through our innocence, anchoring us in a past we never had a chance to escape. He paused, grappling with the enormity of his revelations, and then continued, "About your mother, the reasons she pushed you away. That's a truth hidden by her own fragility." My breath wavered, rattling beneath the heavy weight of his words. "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing as fragmented memory sparked in the corners of my mind, memories I had always silenced. "She didn't believe you would be strong enough to bear the truth of her choices, of what led to our parents' split before that fateful night. There were secrets that twisted her love into something suffocating." Alice stepped in again, her voice steadier now. "The shadows of their choices are not yours to carry, dear. You must confront this, but for you. Not to save Nathan, not to save Emily, and definitely not to carry the weight of familial burdens that belong to people long since gone." The burning within me flared, igniting the meager hope that threatened to extinguish beneath the rage of life's injustices. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" My voice trembled, severed by disbelief and yearning. Why did you all think that hiding the truth would protect me? Nathan stepped closer, urgency in his eyes, reached out one hand, desperate to bridge the distance between our hearts. Because some fears are powerful, bred from guilt and pain. But it's your life, you deserve to grasp your own narrative. I want to be whole, I whispered into the mounting darkness, the weight of their judgments burdening me, but in the silence that followed, Emily interjected again, fierce like a wildfire. Wanting to be whole won't change the dirt that clings to your name, she hissed, relishing the pain she inflicted. What your family kept hidden will come crashing down like a broken dam, flooding everything your dreams, your wedding forever weighed beneath the muck of your history. You can't escape it. Just as I pondered the achingly deep impact of her words, a sudden commotion stirred through the crowd. Someone gasped, eyes widening as they glanced toward the entrance. My pulse quickened, dread bubbling up anew as the crowd parted, revealing a striking figure silhouetted against the soft viral light. It was my mother, her face worn but resolute, stepping forward with eyes sharp enough to cut through the fog of despair that hung in the air. Stop, she commanded, her voice carrying an unexpected authority. There's something you all need to understand. It's time we faced the truth together. The world spun as I stood paralyzed. My mother, the very essence of my haunting past, had chosen to step in at a moment that demanded confrontation with everything I had feared. I felt the unsteady foundations of my knowledge quake beneath me, teetering on the brink of revelation and chaos. Would her presence cut through the cacophony of judgment, or would it serve to throttle the last tenuous strands of my heart? I inhaled sharply, caught between the tensions of the past and the future about to unfold, knowing only that if the storm surged, it would be more potent than anything I ever anticipated facing. The air thickened as my mother's unexpected presence ignited a new tension within the crowd, the quivering threads of uncertainty just waiting for someone to pull them apart. I could only stare at her, waiting for all the things unspoken to spill forth like a dam breaking under the weight of time. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing louder than the last, reminding me of the seconds slipping by, teetering precariously on the edge of revelation. Mom? I breathed, disbelief lacing my words. My mind raced, scouring through the memories of a childhood intertwined with whispers and shadows. Why now? Why here? My voice quaked, imploring her for answers I so desperately needed, answers I once feared might shatter the fragile remnants of my life. She stepped closer, her presence both comforting and intimidating. Because it's time, sweetheart. It's time to stop running. Her eyes bore into mine, searching for recognition in the tumult of emotions swirling between us. You need to hear what I have to say, not just for yourself, but for your future. Emily's laughter served as a stark reminder of the dagger that lay hidden among my family's truths, and yet here was my mother, the very woman I had craved affirmation from, willing to confront the past that had left me so fragile. Her words hung there, heavy yet far more significant than any taunt. I could feel the collective breaths of the audience, their expectation palpable. This was our story, one we had all been too afraid to tell. Let's hear it, then, Nathan urged softly, stepping beside me as a steadying force amid the chaos. This isn't just about you, it's about all of us trying to navigate a history woven with silence. Mom nodded, visibly steeling herself for what lay ahead. I tried to protect you from the past, but in doing so, I created a prison of my own making. Her voice trembled slightly. Your father and we didn't just lose each other, we lost sight of what really mattered, and the choices we made ripple outwards. My breath hitched, the mention of my father serving as a haunting reminder of everything we never resolved. But you left, I said, the pain of abandonment bubbling to the surface. You chose to cut ties instead of facing it together. Why should I believe you now? Because, despite my mistakes, I learned that we should never allow guilt to dictate our paths. Her gaze flickered to Nathan, then back to me, sorrow mixing with determination. I thought I was saving you from the dirt, from the whispers behind closed doors. I thought shielding you would keep you safe. But in truth, it only suffocated you more. I see that now. Emily smirked, arms crossed, her stance defiant against the emotional storm my mother had dared to unleash. This is rich, she spat, her derision curling in the air. What a heartwarming moment of accountability. But I'm afraid those tears won't wash away the truth. She's only here because she can't bear to see you throw away the life she robbed you of. My pulse quickened, Emily's words dug deep, and the remnants of my hope started to flicker under her assault. My mother reached out, as if to hold the truth between us, a bridge spanning years of hurt and misunderstanding. I need you to know that my choices were born from fear. Fear that you would carry the weight of our family's legacy, and I didn't have the strength to shield you from the fallout. But Nathan's gentle voice broke through. You have a choice now, he encouraged, glancing between us, his sincerity a balm amid the searing tension. You can choose what this means for the future. No more hiding. No more shadows. Just honesty. In that moment, a flicker of resilience ignited within me. My voice trembled, yet it carried a newfound strength. Tell me everything, then. All the truths you've buried. I want to know what I'm fighting against. And as I said it, as I faced the ghosts I had long tried to outrun, a fire began to rekindle within me, illuminating the depths of my despair. But just as my mother opened her mouth to share the words that would unearth our shared history, a loud crash echoed through the hall, silencing her mid-sentence. Chairs fell backward, and gasps erupted from the congregation as an unexpected figure staggered forward, blood streaming from their forehead. The crowd parted as the newcomer stumbled into view. Daniel, my brother, his expression twisted with anguish. They're coming for us, he gasped, the urgency of his voice slicing through the heavy silence. I don't know how they found out, but the past is coming back to haunt us. My chest tightened, confusion rippled through the audience as dread coiled within me. What do you mean? I struggled to respond, every ounce of clarity lost in the sudden chaos. The wedding, the truth, everything I was finally ready to confront was abruptly overshadowed by this new calamity. Everything is about to unravel, Daniel choked, his eyes wide with panic. The secrets we thought we buried, they're rising again, and this time, they won't be ignored. With those words hanging in the air, an unforeseen weight bore down on me, a storm, a reckoning that I never saw coming. My heart raced, knowing not just my own fate, but that of my family hung in the balance. Would I finally uncover the truth that loomed just beyond reach, or were we all tethered together by the shadows of our past, destined to drown under their relentless tide? The room erupted in chaos, shockwaves rippling through the assembled guests. I felt the weight of truth blending with fear as Daniel's breathless announcement drowned out the noise of my swirling emotions. As the gasps settled into murmurs, my mind raced with the implications of his words. What could possibly be coming for us, unearthing secrets we had buried so deep? The question hung heavy in the air, binding us all to a moment I had long desired to escape. I glanced at my mother, whose eyes widened as the realization dawned upon her. This was not merely a collision of past and present, it was a reckoning, a noose tightening around the fragile bonds of our family. I could feel Tom's hand slip firmly back into mine, his warmth grounding me amid the storm. What do you mean, Daniel? I begged, desperate to extract clarity from the chaos invading our sanctuary. They know, he gasped, his words slicing through the tension like a knife. They know everything, secrets about Mom and Dad, the accident, and how the fallout isn't just on you, Lily. It's on all of us. Daniel swayed slightly, his body trembling as if caught in a windstorm of guilt and regret. There are people from the past who won't allow these truths to vanish without a reckoning, the congregation murmured, the weight of confusion settling heavily on the air. I could sense emotions shifting around the church, blending fear with curiosity. My heart raced, shadows of my childhood flickered on the edges of my consciousness, memories long intended to be forgotten, but now demanding recognition. I turned to my mother, who appeared paralyzed, vulnerability etched into her features. What did you do? I whispered, the softness cracking under the weight of years unspoken. That I thought I was protecting you, she finally confessed, her voice breaking. But perhaps in my fear, I let the past fester in the dark, feeding into the lies that chained us. I didn't anticipate this. This storm isn't just about you, Lily. It's multi-layered, like the threads of our existence twisted around a bitter bolt. Sweat dripped from her brow, but there was a fierceness deep in her eyes, one that shone through the cracks of her burdens. "Tell me everything," I demanded, a wild determination igniting within me. I was done hiding my scars beneath layers of silence. "I need to know what kind of monsters could surface from the truth you've kept from me." Before she could respond, Emily's voice rose, sharp and cruel. "Oh, let her face the truth she avoided for too long, then. Isn't the room thick enough with sadness? Let's watch her shatter, expose her." "Enough." Tom's voice cut through the tension like a sword, standing as my bastion against the cruelty that threatened to envelop us. "This is not the moment for you to take pleasure in someone else's vulnerability." I reached up, squeezing his hand tighter, drawing strength from him. The burning embers of determination ignited like wildfire inside, fueled by a need to face the demons of my past without retreating. I refused to be a victim once again. "Daniel, what have you found out?" I asked again, the urgency in my tone urging him to unveil the truth I had long shied away from. Daniel hesitated, fear flickering in his gaze. "There are people, a group who believes we owe them something because of the choices our parents made. They think by revealing our past, they can snare us. I overheard them talking at the bar. They can't let our family just pretend it didn't happen. They need to feel they have a grip on the remnants left behind." The clarity of his words crashed over me in waves. I understood. This was not just about unearthing my history, it was about reckoning with it, about reclaiming control of a narrative that had spiraled out of our hands. The shadows were storming forward, and I felt the desperate need to confront them. Just then, a piercing voice rang out, "You think you can sweep the past under the rug? It doesn't work that way." Emily's laughter turned dark, unsettling my renewed confidence. "You've been shielded too long, sweet Lily, but today, everything will come crashing down around you. As if in response to her taunts, the doors swung open again, and a few more figures entered, faces as familiar as they were terrifying, people from my past who had witnessed the frays of our family unravel. I felt my stomach drop as a wave of anger surged through me. Anger at Emily, anger at my parents, but more so anger at myself for allowing fear to tie me down for so long. "No more," I breathed out, my voice like a clarion call rising above the chaos, louder than Emily's jeers and the murmurs of the congregation. I was tired of running. I wanted to break these chains that bound me to a past I had tried so desperately to erase. I choose to confront the truth. Whatever it is, I won't let it define me anymore. The space around me shifted, an energy swirled through the room, and I felt the walls shudder, reverberating with the weight of our collective histories. I let my eyes sweep over the crowd, searching for connection. Tom's gaze was bright with unwavering support. Lily, standing strong beside me. Nathan and Daniel, shadows of my past standing where they'd always belonged near me, and then it hit. All those broken pieces I thought defined my shame were simply parts of a larger mosaic, flawed yet magnificent. Each scar, every stumble had led me here today, woven into the very essence of my existence. I took a breath, steadying myself, even as the fear swirled. "Emily, you want the truth? Then I will share mine." I turned to my mother, my voice calm despite my tremors. "We're facing this together." As I stood before my siblings and Tom, two new foundations having risen from the ashes of chaos, I began to speak, allowing every piece of my past, a piece of all of us, to unfold. I would no longer be spearheaded by shame or guilt, but anchored by familial love and truth, and as my voice grew steadier, the tide began to turn. The whispers that once warped my existence transformed into a resonating chorus of courage, inviting those who listened to join the symphony of acceptance around me. We were complicated, tangled together in the threads of legacy, but damned if we would drown. In that charged atmosphere, clarity surged. I could feel it alongside the tears, an emotion both potent and healing, in acceptance that ran deeper than any hidden darkness, washing over me like spring's fresh rain. The moment reverberated until the final revelation came crashing down, bringing me back to the breath of my voice. I used to believe my worth was dictated by the weight of my past. But today, I reclaim that. It no longer belongs to shame, it belongs to the essence of love I choose to build moving forward. An unexpected wave of solidarity rippled through the audience, a haze of understanding rising in the air like fog lifting at dawn. The pieces began to feed a landscape transformed by newfound courage. My heart raced as I sensed the shift, the recognition that I no longer had to walk the path of shadows alone. Andrew, still standing in the shadows of the entrance, turned to begin walking away, but my heart urged me forward. If you want to unveil truths, unveil them. But know this: I am stronger than the fears tethering me to what I was, and my future beckons with hope. With every word, the air grew lighter, as if the cords of destiny began to unravel in harmony with my truth. And as I prepared to face whatever darkness awaited beyond the threshold of this moment, I felt powerful, emboldened by the tapestry of those who stood by my side. Perhaps today would mark a different kind of acceptance than what I had anticipated, one effortlessly born of love, drenched in the beautiful chaos of our shared lives. What lay ahead remained uncertain, but I was ready. I wasn't merely facing the storm, I was stepping into the light. And for the first time in years, I really believed in the beauty of redemption. It was mine to grasp, undeterred by the past. Whatever awaits, I am here. We are here. I smiled genuinely, taking the hands of my siblings and Tom, feeling invincible for the first time. As our hands intertwined, a tide of harmony enveloped us, binding our family in stitches worn beautifully with love. And I spoke the final and most important truth, the one that would be our legacy, woven through the strands of time: love will define my story, no matter what shadows linger in the past. When I looked around, I saw acceptance ripple through the room, not just from those who heard the words, but from the hearts that held space for rebirth. I felt a promise unfold, echoing within me, a profound certainty born from vulnerability, and as the echoes of my truths danced in the air, my heart lifted, resonating with a clarity of purpose. I was ready for whatever storm lay ahead, because deep down, I realized that love always found a way to forge paths toward a better tomorrow. The last lingering weight of uncertainty fell away, and finally, I understood. The past no longer haunts Metaday, I rise in love.